Hello there, good evening, welcome to Look North, our top story tonight. Children as young as 8 in Bradford have admitted vaping. Health workshops are now being held in primary schools.
It tasted like horrible, just horrible.
I didn't like it at all. It tasted like when you're breathing fire. A bunch of little children that I know as well are trying it, and it's really bad for them.
Well, there's concern more young children could be becoming addicted. Also tonight, a 28-year-old man has pleaded guilty to throwing coffee cups at Nigel Farage in Barnsley. He's admitted using threatening behaviour.
Who will be the stars of the show tonight at Otley bike races? Could actually be the toddler balance bikers, never mind Olympic and British road race champions. Join us shortly for the build-up. Next week we're going to get a pick.
And after weeks of soggy weather, the temperatures have shot right up, bringing a welcome boost to business.
And for some parts of Yorkshire today, it's officially been a heat wave. For most places, things are going to freshen up into tomorrow. I'll be back later in the programme with all the details.
Hello there, thanks for sticking with us for the later Look North tonight. Children as young as 8 in Bradford have admitted trying vapes, even though it's illegal to sell them to anyone under 18. New workshops have been launched in primary schools in the city to stem the growing numbers of youngsters taking up the habit. So how widespread is it? Let's take a look, shall we? Recent research by the anti-smoking charity ASH found that the number of children vaping is on the increase. In 2022, 15.8% of 11 to 17-year-olds had tried it. A year later, that figure jumped to 1 in 5. And there's concern that it could lead to more children becoming addicted. Our Bradford political reporter Aisha Iqbal has our top story.
Cookies, ice cream, blueberry, blue raspberry,
cherry ice and watermelon.
This isn't a list of sweets and favourite treats, but rather the names of vape flavours lining the shelves in shops and supermarkets. Vaping among youngsters is on the rise. Worryingly for parents and educators alike, those trying the habit are getting younger and younger, and peer pressure is a big factor.
A 14-year-old boy offered me a vape for no reason. He just came up to me and asked me, like, do you want to try this out? I said, what is it? And he went, something that'll make you feel good. But I looked at it in a kind of weird way and didn't take it.
Did you at any point think about it?
Because she kept asking me. And I said, sorry, I've got to go now, so I left.
This youth charity, which has been delivering deterrent workshops in secondary schools across Bradford, has now started working with primary schools.
Nicotine's addictive. Nicotine can rewire your brain, certainly if you're a young brain, still growing.
The first question is, put your hand up if you've ever been offered a vape by somebody. Just under half of these youngsters had been offered a vape. Only a handful had tried it, and none had wanted to repeat the experience.
It tasted like horrible, just horrible.
Never wanted to try it again?
Never.
I didn't like it at all. It tasted like when you're breathing fire, and I know that a bunch of little children that I know as well are trying it, and it's really bad for them.
It was quite horrifying, to be honest with you, because how many people have tried vapes, especially young people as well, and because their brain hasn't fully developed, it can mess with their brain.
There are wider efforts to crack down on the availability of vapes to younger children, including proposed new laws to ban disposable vapes entirely, stricter rules on marketing and flavours, and a new vaping tax.
I think just the biggest thing in terms of my point of view from a teacher, putting more into it in the curriculum. We can obviously ourselves bring in external companies like Step 2, but I think having a bigger push in the curriculum so that we can just educate children about that would be my biggest thing in terms of a teacher, from my point of view.
The success of vaping as a quit smoking tool is acknowledged, but so are the risks of addiction to children especially. And for those wanting to create a smoke and vape-free generation, prevention starts with education. Aisha Iqbal, BBC Look North, Bradford.
It's quite shocking, that, isn't it? Professor Nick Hopkinson is a respiratory physician and the chair of ASH. I asked him how worrying the rising figures are.
Well, it's certainly a problem that needs to be dealt with. I mean, we know that vaping is much less harmful than smoking. So for people who smoke, switching to vaping is a really good way of reducing health risk. But it's certainly not harmless, particularly over long-term use. So, the key thing is we don't want young people and children to take this habit up in the first place.
It's actually illegal to sell them to under 18s in the shop, but we've heard from children as young as 80 using vapes. They don't seem to have a problem getting hold of them, do they?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, there are problems with the marketing, the packaging, the regulations around sale, and the fact that those are not being enforced. So these are all things that the next government needs to get a grip on.
You talked about health implications. Do we know much about how it can impact young people?
So I think that there's probably three things. The first is that obviously long-term vaping is likely to cause some problems to the lungs. So obviously the best way to avoid that is never to start in the first place. The second thing is obviously the reason why people carry on vaping is similar to smoking. It's because nicotine is addictive. So the sort of cycle of kind of craving, withdrawals, and so on can be quite distracting. So we don't want that to be something that children and young people have to put up with. And the third thing is sort of obviously direct lung problems. So people with asthma, for example, vaping may aggravate that. And there are, fortunately, very rare but allergic type reactions which can be much more severe.
Professor Nick Hopkinson, thank you for your time. Next tonight, a senior doctor in West Yorkshire is urging people to use NHS services wisely ahead of another 5-day strike by junior doctors. Members of the British Medical Association will walk out tomorrow morning in their long-running dispute with the government over pay. It comes just a week before the general election. Our health correspondent Jamie Coulson is here with more. All yours.
This will be the 11th time junior doctors have walked out on strike, and it comes in the week before voters head to the polls. Disruption is expected as members of the British Medical Association walk out at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning for 5 days. The last strike by the BMA and the much smaller HCSA union in February caused 838 inpatient procedures and over 7,500 appointments to be rescheduled across the 13 trusts in our region. Dr. Richard Robinson is the Chief Medical Officer at the Mid Yorkshire Teaching Trust.
Our services are very busy at the moment, and they remain very busy through the whole of the year. The junior doctor strike adds additional challenge to that. So if you think you are seriously ill and need our help and support, coming to the hospital is the right thing, or phoning for an ambulance. If you have a minor injury or something that's been happening for a longer period of time, please go and seek advice from NHS 111, your local GP practice or community pharmacist.
The BMA wants a 35% pay increase to make up for what it says is 15 years of below inflation pay rises. Junior doctors received a rise averaging nearly 9% in the last year, and recent talks failed where an extra 3% was being discussed. We approached the main political parties and only the Green Party addressed the demands directly, saying they would support calls for full pay restoration. The Conservatives told us they always act in good faith to end disputes, as they did with hospital consultants, and that they would commit to getting back into the negotiating room immediately after the election. Labour told us that if they win the election, they would ask the Department of Health to get talks back up and running urgently and end the dispute once and for all. Meanwhile, the Liberal Democrats told us their MPs would be local champions for the NHS, and Reform UK did not respond to our approaches.
You're watching Wednesday's Look North, still to come on tonight's programme. We'll find out what's driven one man to ride up one of Yorkshire's steepest hills 36 times. But before that, let's look at some of today's other stories. A man who threw objects towards Nigel Farage while he was campaigning in Barnsley has admitted using threatening behaviour. It happened while the Reform UK leader, Mr Farage, was on an open-top bus in the town centre. Ollie Constable has sent this report from Barnsley magistrates.
Nigel Farage ducked for cover as objects were launched towards him while on the campaign trail earlier this month. Items believed to be coffee cups were thrown from a building site in Barnsley town centre while the Reform UK leader was aboard his open-top bus. Today, the man who threw those cups appeared here at Barnsley Magistrates Court, charged with a public order offence. Josh Greeley from Chesterfield, seen here trying to avoid our cameras outside court, admitted using threatening, abusive, insulting words and behaviour with intent to cause fear. The court heard how the items made a bang on the side of the bus as they were thrown. The 28-year-old, who has since shaved his head and wore a face mask during the hearing, spoke to confirm his name, age and address. He was told by the judge he will be sentenced on the 28th of August, following a pre-sentence report from the probation service. Ollie Constable, BBC Look North, Barnsley Magistrates Court.
4 men who were arrested in the grounds of Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's constituency home in North Yorkshire have been released on bail. Police say the men were arrested within 1 minute of them entering the grounds of Kirby Siston Manor near Northallerton yesterday lunchtime. Mr Sunak has thanked North Yorkshire Police for their swift response. Today was the second of our general election debates, hosted by our political editor James Vincent.
West Yorkshire's always one of the big places to watch when it comes to general elections. There are several constituencies that give you an idea of how the whole vote will pan out.
Candidates standing from across West Yorkshire faced questions on a range of different topics, including climate change, the NHS and social care. The questions were all from voters from our region on issues that matter most to them. And you can watch or listen back to the debate on BBC iPlayer and BBC Sounds if you search Your Voice, Your Vote and then find the Leeds debate episode. Tomorrow it will be candidates from North Yorkshire who will be quizzed. More than 100 tenants in Halifax have been told they must leave their homes forever because the tower blocks that they live in need essential works. This is it. St James's Court and Albion Court house tenants who are over 60. Many of them are vulnerable, but the housing association that runs the affordable accommodation says it has no choice but to vacate the blocks. Kathy Killick has been talking to residents.
In a prime position near the centre of Halifax, these flats have been very popular with tenants since they were built in the 1960s. But for years they've been shrouded in scaffolding for repairs. Tenants have put up with it, but they've now been told major structural work is needed and they're going to have to move out permanently.
I'm really sad, really, because we're losing a home, we're losing as a community, and I don't want to move. So we're the same with a lot of people. And plus, there's nowhere to go. They can shove us anywhere, and we're not doing that.
Well, they promised us that we could go where we wanted, but now they're coming back and saying, well, we can't actually do that because we have only so many places where you can stay.
They're not going to shove me where they want to shove me. No, I've always paid my rent every week on time. No.
This was my last home, hopefully. It's such a community. We are a community.
130 households are affected. Richard Geo invited me in to see the home he has to leave. He's lived here happily despite illness and losing his wife. When he got the letter saying he'd have to go, he was devastated.
I started trembling. And I thought, well, I came here with the intention of being here until I pass away, because this is my home. I don't want to move to somewhere where I don't know anyone and start again, you know. My 2 daughters are close by. My youngest brother is just across the road. So we're a very close community.
The flats are managed by a housing association called Together Housing. They say the work will take years and can't be done with people living there.
I really appreciate that it's really difficult for our residents. You know, the decision hasn't been taken lightly. You know, if it was my mum, I'd feel the same. I get it. It's just, unfortunately, there's no future for those homes, and we have to do the best we can for our residents that we've got in there at the moment.
Together Housing have promised to give one-to-one support and that there's no rush, but the tenants are sceptical. Some have had trouble with poor maintenance and no longer trust the association's promises. And that makes an already difficult situation even worse. Kathy Killick, BBC Look North, Halifax.
Gosh, an awful situation for them there. Now we've got a bit of a cycling theme on tonight's programme. We'll be live at the Otley cycle race in a moment, but first our next guest has just completed his own challenge. Alice Dyson has just ridden up one of Yorkshire's steepest hills, Home Moss in Huddersfield, a massive 36 times. That's the equivalent of the height of Mount Everest. All for a very good cause. Alex is officially king of the mountain. When he came in earlier, I asked him how he was feeling.
I'm feeling very tired at the moment. The knees are giving way on every step, but everything's doing all right other than that.
Yeah, I'm sure. Now, I've been up Home Moss on a bike once. That was more than enough. So to do it 36 times, oh my goodness, how did you manage to do all that?
It was a lot of grit and determination, I won't lie. I knew it was going to be the hardest thing I've ever done, but those last 5 reps were the absolute death of me.
And what was the biggest challenge for you? Because it was really hot on Monday, wasn't it?
Yeah, the heat was really, really big. There was no wind that day, so there was no cooling time apart from the descent. The pollen was super heavy, so my nose completely blocked up for the first 8 to 10 reps. So my heart rate was all over the place.
You're obviously a really good cyclist to take this on in the first place, Alex, but you took cycling up to another level, didn't you, 2 years ago? Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I kind of saw it as a form of therapy once I lost 4 members of my family to dementia, all within the space of a year. I found myself wanting to escape a bit more, doing a lot more longer rides. I seemed to feel better after that. So yeah, I started to take things a bit more seriously at that point.
And that was the whole reason for this challenge, wasn't it? To highlight what we've just talked about.
Yeah, so it was all for awareness of dementia and to raise as much money as I could while creating, hopefully, a lovely film in memory of my grandparents, yeah.
And Home Moss is a particularly special place for you, isn't it?
Yeah, my grandparents used to take me up there in their caravan. When we'd come to visit them in Yorkshire, we would go up the North Ascent and sit in the car park in their caravan and enjoy a meal while watching the view.
And did you feel like they were with you on Monday?
There were times I definitely felt like they were.
I bet you were cursing them as well. Why did we come up here?
No, I really thought I'd grow quite bored of the climb throughout, but as the light changed, like everything looked so different in that valley that there was always something to look at and something to appreciate as well.
Well, Alex, well done. What an achievement.
Thank you so much.
I'm sure his grandparents would be very proud. Right, top-level riders from all over the country are in Yorkshire this very weekend for the start of the National Circuit Series. With Ilkley and Sheffield still to come, tonight's racing starts around Otley Town Centre. Now, who do you think begged us to let him go? Oggy, 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 it's all yours.
I didn't take much persuasion, Amy, you're absolutely right. By the way, that group of elite riders from across the country here in Otley tonight includes Emma Jeffers, the newly crowned British women's champion. If only I could give you an impression of the great power, the whoosh of wind that is created by the speed of the peloton. They're just about to come round us again. You might catch them over my shoulder as the elite women's race goes round one of its final few laps. Men's elite coming up later tonight, but the stars of the show already, just have a look at these pictures, the balance bike race for the toddlers earlier tonight. The noise levels from the sidelines were absolutely deafening, encouraging these youngsters along the course just behind the finish line earlier on, and you watch a race like that and wonder what they might become. Speaking of future stars, yes, Emma Jeffers is here, so are our up-and-coming future riders riding right now in the women's elite race. Kat Ferguson, Imogen Wolf, for example. Ed Clancy, former British Olympic champion, is here tonight, and he's not just spectating, he's riding. He told us why.
And on this very circuit right behind me, we've been second here twice. I've got a funny feeling tonight's not going to be the big one, but I tell you what, it's a great race here. The Otley Circuit races have always been a big one on the calendar. Obviously, it's part of the British Cycling National Series, and there's been a bit of a dip really in the domestic road racing scene. And talking about post-career and retirement, I've still kept busy, and one of my jobs is I've been working with the events team in British Cycling to try and raise the profile and try and entice a little bit of sponsorship back to events like this. And maybe I'm biased, but for what it's worth, races like this are ace, you know, not just for the racers, but the friends and family and just the bystanders, and it's nice to have been a small part of something like this.
Yeah, I think Otley's one of the best nights of the year. It's so fun. Staying to watch the racing afterwards. It's always got a really good atmosphere. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think the Otley corner's pretty famous. Like, there's been some gnarly crashes there in the past, but yeah, I mean, if nothing else, it's going to be a really hard 50 minutes.
And that's just two of the stars of the past and of the future who are here racing at Otley tonight. And it's not just Otley. Yes, we don't have the Tour de Yorkshire anymore. The Grand Départ is nearly 10 years ago now. But cycling's evolved in this country, and this is the first round of the British National Circuit Series. It continues in Ilkley Town Centre, remember, on Friday night. Sheffield Grand Prix is coming up in a couple of weeks' time in mid-July. Lots to enjoy, and there's still a couple of hours racing left here in Otley tonight if you can get yourself down. Back to you.
Oggy, thank you. Definitely want to see more of that toddle balance bike race. That was fabulous, wasn't it? OK, now time to get your diaries out for the English Football League fixtures. They've been released, and in the Championship, Sheffield United will start away at Preston on Friday the 9th of August. Leeds United will play newly promoted Portsmouth at Ellen Road the following day. Sheffield Wednesday are at home to Plymouth on Sunday the 11th of August. To find out our League One and two clubs fixtures, just go to the BBC Sport website or the app. Now, after weeks of wet weather and low temperatures, this latest boost of warm weather has been gorgeous, hasn't it? Well, it has been for some of us anyway. But will it last? We'll get the full forecast in a moment. But first, Phil Bodmer, I think he's had the job of the day. He's been soaking up the rays.
After a soggy spring, at last a burst of summer sun. At Poolbridge Farm near Weldrake, a dip in the lakes seemed like the most popular way to cool off.
We have 4 lakes and we are open to the public for people to come and enjoy nature, enjoy swimming, enjoy the wildlife, green space, listen to the birds. That's what we do. Turn your iPads off, turn your phones off and come and enjoy. Let kids be kids, and that's what we do.
6 months ago, these beautiful blooms at Breezy Knees Gardens at Ward Hill were under several inches of water. Thanks to the hard work of staff, June sees them bursting with colour.
The bottom end of the June garden down there, the water, we just couldn't get the water away. Now, that's obviously all gone. The sun's out and the plants are back. And you really, plants like that, you've got to admire because they've gone through everything and now we're enjoying them.
In York, this floating ice cream parlour was doing brisk business under the blazing sun.
Well, it's great for our solar panels. We keep our ice cream cold pretty much exclusively by the sun. So that's been very helpful. And we've had a lot more tourists come in. Definitely the sunshine has brought a lot more people out to see us. Welcome to the beach.
And on the coast, the South Bay beach at Scarborough, busy with sun lovers enjoying Mediterranean-style weather.
Well, it goes without saying that not everybody appreciates the heat, and we are advised to check on the elderly and the vulnerable. But for those of us who can enjoy the summer, then best to make the most of it while it lasts. Phil Bodmer, BBC Look North, York.
Quite a hat he's wearing there, isn't it?
Didn't bring us an ice cream, did he?
Certainly didn't. He had the best job of the day. We are actually going to Scarborough tomorrow. I've got a feeling it's not going to be like we saw there.
No, it looks like it'll be a nice day in Scarborough. And actually, it's going to be warmer in Scarborough tomorrow because we're changing the wind direction and the wind isn't coming in off the sea. So there you go. It'll be a nicer day in Scarborough. We have had lovely conditions, haven't we, today? 26.8 was our hotspot in Sheffield today. It is going to, though, get fresher over the next few days. But we have, in some parts of Yorkshire, after today's temperatures, officially had heat wave conditions. That's 3 consecutive days meeting that heat wave threshold. So yeah, it's been a lovely spell of weather over the last few days. It took a while for some of us this morning to see that sunshine come. I was looking up at the sky at 11 o'clock. It was still cloudy in Leeds, in Doncaster and Sheffield as well. You can see a little bit of cloud in the background there, but it did break up nicely into the afternoon. And parts of the coast saw that mistiness come and go through the course of the day. And because of that easterly breeze, it has over the last few days been that little bit fresher along the coast as well. You can keep your pictures coming in. There'll be more lovely conditions tomorrow. Keep your pictures coming in. The Weather Watchers page, Keely.Donovan on Instagram. So yeah, we have got some pleasant weather tomorrow. It'll feel warm in the sunshine, but it is going to be fresher for most of us. Quite a breezy day to come tomorrow as well. So that cold front will open the doors to something a little fresher, less humid certainly. Breezy conditions for Thursday and Friday, and then this weather front might bring some damp, drizzly conditions through the day on Saturday. By the weekend, I think temperatures will have returned to the seasonal norm. It's this strip of cloud here, that's the cold front that is going to freshen things up for tomorrow. I don't think there'll be very much rain on it by the time it greets us. So the cloud will come and go overnight. There'll be some clear spells. This is the cold front edging in from the west, a little bit of patchy rain and drizzle as it edges onto the Pennines later in the night. A mild night, 15 or 16 degrees the low. A quick look at your high water times at around 10 to 9 in Filey. So tomorrow morning, a fine start in the east, but that strip of cloud moves quickly through southeastwards. Less humid for the rest of the day. Some pleasant spells of sunshine, 1 or 2 showers moving into mainly Pennine parts. It'll feel pleasant in the sunshine, but not as warm and humid. But 22 degrees will still feel very pleasant. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the forecast, we've not got an easterly. We've got quite a gusty, actually, southwesterly, but that means the coast will also join in the fun. It might get actually a little bit warmer than 20 degrees there in Scarborough. It looks pleasant through tomorrow evening, the odd shower moving through, but also some spells of sunshine. A lot more cloud to greet us on Friday, a windy start to the day as well. The odd shower about on Friday with increasing amounts of sunshine, but you can see much cooler temperatures, about average.
Fish and chips on the beach in Scarborough.
Is that an invite?
Doesn't get much better than that. You're welcome to join us. We will be there all day tomorrow. We have a special election programme. If you happen to be in Scarborough, do pop along and say hello. But that's it from us. Bye-bye for now.